Hello there, it's Mohammed Fahim. I hope you will be fine. Today's topic, it's neither a topic nor its discussion, it's an emblem of both of these. Sometimes we come across certain difficulties that are hard to comprehend, especially when you try to speak in an extempore condition or extempore condition, then it becomes really difficult because lack of ideas result in lack of communication or interrupt communication or communication without cohesion and coherence and without any flow. And today I'm going to discuss some of the ideas that we can use to improve the flow of communication. If you remember from your own life and you recall different type of memories concerned with reading, you will remember that you read newspapers in your language or in language in another language which is not your first language, and obviously it's English. And sometimes you listen to news or watch news in another way on TV by turning on different news channels. So the idea is, why not using news to improve our flow of communication, to improve our speaking, to learn vocabulary, to understand the sentence structure, to understand how the story goes on. And if you have to tell a story, how you can use different types of sentences, different types of techniques, different types of phrases, different types of vocabulary words from those particular news stories that you read. Thinking about this idea, I designed today's communication or speaking topic, and it's all about speaking and discussion. When we try to speak something, the question comes into mind why it's difficult, and what are the reasons behind, and how to improve it. So the first question, why it's difficult, it leads us to understand the different structures, different sentences, different paradigms, different frameworks that can help us to resolve speaking problem or discussion problem. And all this discussion is all about to brainstorm myself, to get and generate ideas so that when we speak to someone, we can speak eloquently. If not eloquently in the beginning, that at least at a convincing pace that shows you as an eloquent speaker or fluent speaker of English. So when we talk about these, we come across, these are the strategies. First, focus on the topic. Think about the question, what the question is about. For example, if you are reading a newspaper or listening to radio or watching news on TV, so you must focus on. So why you need to focus on? Because you want to understand the topic, what the topic is about. When you understand the topic, or if you are not completely understanding the topic, at least a portion or a partial understanding of the topic is also good. At least you have a basic idea what the topic is about, although you are not fully familiar with all the chunks, all the information, all the ideas that might be coming in the topic later on. So after focusing the topic, reading newspapers and watching news on TV are two certain techniques that can help you to not only understand what the newscaster is saying or what's written in the newspaper, because if you are watching TV, this means you are also focusing on the facial gestures, the expressions the newscaster is projecting by her or by his face. Similarly, when you are reading the newspaper, you might come across certain type of vocabulary, sentences or phrases that you already have read about, and then you understand that how you can use them in that particular context. So after understanding these, reading articles, making notes on certain points or which are vital, and noting down subheadings are certain strategies that can bring you data in an immense amount. When you have large amount of data, so you can use it to construct your ideas, to construct a discussion topic. For instance, recently on BBC News, there is a very hot topic. is social media a new smoking? This means smoking is, or we already know that smoking is bad for health and for other reasons as well, because it creates psychological and physical pressures and abnormalities. But if we compare something, especially the use of social media, this means this is very hard. This is a very hard topic. From hot topic, I mean that the debate is going on this very topic. From now on, we will talk about it. Is social media a new smoking? When you talk about, when you listen to, when you read the newspaper, when you listen to radio, when you watch news on TV, you must have a pen and paper so that you can note some of the vocabulary words, some of the phrases that you haven't come across before. This is a good idea, not only to learn new lexical resources, but also to increase your capacity and capability to understand different sentence structures and different sentences that you can use or employ in your own communication. So if we move forward, we see that first of all, if we want to discuss this very topic, we need to discuss both of these, social media and smoking. Then we need to compare them. Why we can compare them? This is a question that might come into our mind. Because comparison is always good. In this way, when you do comparison, in this way you will be able to find certain similarities and certain differences. And such type of comparison is also helpful in your essay writing, in your academic report writing, whether you are writing, whether you are studying in A levels, O levels, or appearing for IELTS examination, or just preparing English essays for your English communication purposes. So after comparison, if you find, you quote some examples when you are speaking. You quote some examples, then you justify, you give evidence. When you give evidence, this means you are justifying your own ideas, your own argument in your communication or in your writing. And then afterwards, you present your argument and you use common vocabulary and sentence structure in your speaking. And if you have good vocabulary, use that as well. I tell you a story about this topic, is social media a new smoking? In a recent news, different governments in Western Hemisphere or in Western countries are thinking or have been thinking, you can use both of the sentence structures grammatically, have been thinking to ban social media use in schools and colleges. Australia is one of the countries that has prohibited or banned the use of social media in schools and colleges for children under 16. This means children who are 16 years old, they cannot use social media apps in their schools. A similar example, which I have noted in previous months, has been practiced in Nordic countries, in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Iceland. The governments insisted to educational institutions to focus on using pen and paper for students and do not use any social media in schools. They have completely banned it. Finland is one of the countries that has very strong and positive education system. From grade 1 to 5, they have curriculum, but they don't have any printed material. They take their children outside for a practical activity. They go for camping, even with the small children who are studying in grade 1, 2, 3, or 5. And everything is done practically. What's the purpose? The purpose is just to create a certain environment that are essential for their well-being, for their positive thinking, for creativity, for productivity. Japan is one of the countries that has this system since a long time. Children in school, they don't have any annual examination until grade 8. in primary classes, from primary, I mean from grade 1 to grade 5, children go to school and they learn practical activity such as cooking, cleaning, washing the toilets, helping others, and learning about first aid. This is the practical environment. That's why ethics or social ethic is admired in Japan, and they are far ahead in discipline. Recently, in a BBC News, it's been noted that the government has been trying and thinking and have discussions with other professionals from medical field, from educationists, to ban social media applications for children who are under 15. This means they have nothing on the table at the moment, or nothing off the table. Most of the doctors from medical field, they are concerned about the use of social media among children and even among adults. Optometry problem, they belong to physical situation. Eyes problem, they are optometry problem. Psychological stress, distress, certain psychological issues, depression, there are certain causes that are associated with excessive use of screen. Another group of scientists has argued that students have their own imagination who are under 15 years of age. They watch different things on their mobiles and create certain type of imaginative ideas, imaginative world, imaginative characters that have no link with the physical world. And in the physical reality, or when they come across with people and see the physical reality is different, they undergo certain type of stress and depression. So this means the governments are behind the curve. Or if certain governments have adopted certain options like Australia or Nordic countries, this means they have ahead of the curve. Governments are also trying to curb social media. This means there are so many things on the table and off the table. Professional seems overwhelming on this issue, and some of them have unanimous decision about banning the social media. So this is how we can learn from these things. Now, if we consider the vocabulary that I have just used from different news, then we can understand that this is a vocabulary that's evident. Like overwhelming, this means a majority. This means excessive of something, most of the people. So this is how you can use different type of vocabulary. Like unanimous, this means an agreement. Agreement with the majority. Lots of people, when they decide something and they agree upon a decision, this means it's unanimous. And we have certain vocabulary, nothing off the table. This means nothing is positive yet. Something that hasn't been decided yet. That's the actual meaning in British English. And on the table, this means the decision is ready, somebody is ready to take the decision. Similarly, when the vocabulary such as behind the curve was used in news, this means behind the curve, this means that somebody hasn't done any decision yet. They haven't taken any decision. They haven't acted upon. And if somebody is ahead of the curve, this means someone has taken the decision before others. So these are the vocabulary words that we come across from newspapers, from news channels. Again, we have curb social media. This means just a crackdown on social media apps to eliminate something, to dispose of something. So you also come across with such type of vocabulary words that are alternative options. And now we are ending on like medical professionals, big doctors in their professions, big names. So they all have a unanimous decision or overwhelming majority of these professionals and politicians that social media should be banned. I hope it will be a good idea for you. If you consider this topic, social media or smoking, you can talk a lot. Smoking can do physical harm and sometimes psychological harm as well. That's for sure, like stress, like anxiety. So is the role of social media in our lives. Think about it. It's a good topic to improve your speaking. Search out, and if you have any comment, if you have any idea, you can share with me. Thank you very much for joining me. It's Mohammed Fahim. Thank you.